They almost got me. And so today we're going to talk about how exactly they managed that. When the pandemic began, everyone and their mother decided that they wanted a home gym. And as a result, the price of dumbbells went up astronomically, like 3 times what they normally were. As if we needed reminding, it was good proof that in a world governed by supply and demand, things can get a little crazy. As a consumer, I simply couldn't stomach the incredible prices, and so to this day, I still dream of having adjustable heavy things that I can move around. And due to this affliction of imagination, I am prone to occasionally Googling adjustable dumbbell sets just to see if the markets have returned to normal and you can buy a pair of dumbbells for less than their weight in gold. And it's this tendency towards Googling something that led to me almost getting got. But before we dive into that discussion, I want to do a bit of a refresher on a topic that I talked about quite a while ago now, which is advertising and specifically native ads. I like to think of the world as split into regular content and advertising content, where regular content is just things that people create. They create a review because they bought something. And then advertising is when a particular site is compensated for bringing to people's attention a particular product. And native advertising is an attempt to blend these two realities, to create content that looks like a blog, a news site, whatever it happens to be, but is actually an advertisement that someone was compensated for the creation of and the promotion of. An example that I think I used previously is the fact that ads on Instagram look almost exactly like posts on Instagram with the exception of a little badge. Another good example is Google search. You do a Google search and say the first 3 links that you see have a tiny little box that says ad next to them because Google has been compensated for promoting those particular links. However, the former type of advertising, where a piece of content is created that looks like regular content but is actually an ad, is something that I talked about a bit in that previous video, specifically in the world of mattresses. And there's an article that I will link down below from Fast Company about the incredible amount of money that is being spent by the mattress industry in aggregate to kind of control and create blogs and things of that nature that are designed to look like mattress reviews. So when you Google best mattress or mattress review, what you are getting is a bunch of heavily sponsored advertorial content that doesn't really help you get to the truth of which mattress is better than another. And the effectiveness of native advertising is entirely or mostly derived from its ability to blend in. The less a native ad looks like an ad, the more it looks like its surroundings, the more successfully it chameleons into the broader content, the more it has the ability to gain the trust of readers and ultimately sell things. And I'm someone that is generally pretty sensitive to this, which is why it is so surprising that earlier this week I nearly got by a piece of native advertising. And so I wanted to talk about that today. Earlier this week, I had an article show up in my Google News that said, Bowflex adjustable weights unbelievably cheap at Amazon.com today. And as you can imagine, this article really caught my interest because if in fact my dream of having a set of adjustable heavy things in my apartment was to be realized, I was hoping at some point that I would find a deal. And this sounded like it might be that deal. In my excitement, I turned a blind eye to the somewhat oddly constructed article and clicked the link that was in the article that took me to the Amazon page. And lo and behold, as the article purported, the normally $550 dumbbells were down to an unbelievably cheap price of $300. Or at least that's what the article said. When I saw the $300 price tag on the Amazon listing, I felt like that was still pretty expensive for what amounts to heavy pieces of metal. Instead of feeling like $400 was cheap, I found myself feeling like $550, which was the list price on Amazon, was verging on extortionary. And this is where things got a little funkier, because after seeing these highway robbery-esque prices, I decided to poke around outside of the little bubble that is Amazon. And the first place that I went was directly to Bowflex's website, where I found the same product in stock at exactly the same price that Amazon was listing it. So that means that the incredible deal, as purported by the news site that Google News pointed me to, was in fact just the dumbbells being sold at their MSRP, where they are commonly apparently also available on other websites for the same price. As you can imagine, from here, it only gets worse. I decided it was time to do a bit more digging, and I went to a website called Camel, which, if you're not familiar, is a really handy website that records the historical prices of products on Amazon. So you can go back and see a graph of their price. I'll put one up somewhere. And what I found was that these particular Bowflex weights, over the lifespan of the product, had averaged a price of $280, which is well below the $400 that they are currently being sold for. And perhaps even more remarkably, the all-time low price for those dumbbells was $179, under half the current incredible deal as purported by the news site that I had found it on. So I think it's fair to say that Amazon's list price was a bit overinflated due to the supply and demand that we had previously talked about, and the convenient omission of an MSRP made it really easy for this particular website to claim an incredible discount, when in fact, all I was finding was a return to normalcy. And as a bit of an aside, this is something that regularly happens prior to Amazon's Prime Day, where in the weeks leading up to it, all of the merchants will increase list prices so that they can have some big, shiny discount values on the website. But that's not specifically what we're talking about here. But let's get back to this shady website, because I think that there's a lot of interesting things to discuss here too. The website in question was a website called The Manual, and it purports to, let me get this right, show men how to live a life that is more engaged. And it clearly does that almost exclusively through affiliate links to products being sold on various websites, mostly Amazon. The website is more links to Amazon than actual text in most cases, and every page has a lovely, incredibly fine print disclaimer letting you know that when you click those links, the website may earn a commission off of any purchases that you make. I actually found it comical that this little disclaimer about them earning commissions is so incredibly core to the identity of their site that in their like 3-sentence about blog, it actually closes with yet again reminding you that they are earning a commission. I spent another 30 or so minutes scouring that particular website, and I managed to find one article that did not have a link directly to Amazon, and instead was an aggregate article that linked to 3 other articles that they had previously published, all of which who were littered with Amazon affiliate links and partner codes for Hulu and various other affiliate programs. Now, I don't blame themanual.com or their parent website Digital Trends or their parent company Design Technica, because the reality is this is big business. If you can create an aesthetic in order to encourage people to click affiliate links and then find ways to get your content, I'll put that in quotes, published on sites like Google News, then there's a lot of money in that. You can make an incredible amount of money off of affiliate link clicks. So the system is potentially broken, but I can't really point to them as the fundamental problem. What they are doing is fundamentally problematic because they are creating advertorial content that lives under the guise of being news in order to get people to engage with it. But I think that it is a problem that is perpetuated by a much larger and more complicated machine. And a big part of that machine is the delivery method. And this is something that hadn't really occurred to me prior to this little journey that I went on. But content has validity, truthiness, whatever you want to call it, lent to it by the means by which it finds its way to you. As an example, Google News is, to my understanding at the moment, mostly devoid of advertising. And that means that the content that arrives to me in that format, I expect not to be advertising. It is curated, it is provided to me, but it is a place to get, as the name would suggest, news, not advertisements. And what I realized is there's a very clever dance being played across a very, very fine line here. And the reason is that what I consider to be an advertisement is different than, say, what Google considers to be an advertisement. Google considers something to be an advertisement if they are paid to show it, right? Every one of those little ads that shows up in a Google search result is because someone paid to win an auction so that their ad would be shown. And to me, an advertisement is much more about the intent of the content rather than a specific transaction with a specific body. AKA, the article on themanual.com that I found was clearly an advertisement. They were trying to advertise for a product in order to capture affiliate revenue and get paid for it. But no money was changing hands, say, with Google to get that particular article shown. And so the issue is that my definition of advertisement is about the intent of the media. Is the media designed to sell? Is it designed to convince me to do something that I might otherwise not do for commercial gain? Or is it something that is written in good faith to inform and educate, like a newspaper article about something non-commercial? And so in this case, I was served up what I would consider to be an advertisement with no marker on it from Google indicating that it was an advertisement. We have this long chain that I followed in order to get to ultimately themanual.com, and the only place that the disclosure happened was on themanual.com, and all of the steps prior when I interacted with it, when I saw it, when I read the headline of it, was absent from that disclosure because Google's only requirement for disclosure is if they got paid. And that's kind of the problem, is at the end of the day, I realized that because we essentially digitally launder a great deal of news, of information, of articles, the place where you first encounter something is not necessarily fully disclosing the nature of the thing that you are encountering. When you find an article on Facebook, it could be an advertisement in the sense that it was created because someone paid to have it created, or the person who created it has the potential to benefit greatly from its creation and its advertisement, without Facebook ever needing to disclose that that thing is an advertisement. In their eyes, they received no compensation for its creation, except in the form of engagement. And this is a much bigger problem, because in a world where news, the source of truth and reality, is ever increasingly diluted with more and more thinly veiled advertorial content, it becomes very difficult to find that truth. In the example of mattresses, it is almost impossible today to find an objective comparison of different mattresses. You are kind of stuck with a bunch of essentially industry-sponsored reviewers that are all saying great things about whoever paid them most recently. It dilutes the flow of actual important information and makes it increasingly difficult to actually find reality amongst the confusing and malicious intents of business. And this is by no means limited to just the purchasing of dumbbells. The Center for Countering Digital Hate published a report that was cited by the White House recently that showed that 12 people were responsible for 65% of the anti-vax information that is currently circulating on social media. And those 12 people have profited incredibly for that, because that content from their perspective is advertorial in nature. They are promoting an alternate reality that benefits them greatly. And today, judging the motives behind a particular article, whether it is profit-driven or trying to genuinely educate, is difficult, trending towards impossible. And unfortunately, social media platforms are implicit in the laundering of news. Even if the original article that spreads COVID disinformation had a disclaimer saying that the supplements that they were claiming worked better than a vaccine were sold by them, and as a result they might profit from them, all of that information is lost as it gets screenshot and put on Twitter or posted on Facebook. And as a result, it becomes very difficult to separate true news from advertorial content that is designed to manipulate people into making a particular purchasing decision or enriching a particular person. Simply put, being an informed consumer and an informed person in today's society is far more difficult than it has ever been before. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but I felt compelled to at least talk about it a little bit. But for now, that's really all I have. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Not apotamus. Ponderous.